Okay, thank you very much, Auntie Jean, and welcome to the Black Book Show. I'm the founder, Makonnen Sankofa. Whether you're listening or whether you're on a Zoom call, on Facebook Live, Black Culture Radio, or watching the replay on YouTube, thank you for attending or for watching the show, the Black Book Show. I'm looking forward to it this evening. The Black Book Show is a platform that I've been running for 3 years now, almost 3 years. Coming up May will be the 3rd year anniversary. And over the last 3 years, we've had around 300 authors of African heritage that have featured on the platform in a variety of different countries. So we've had some authors, that are in USA, England, Africa, the Caribbean, Canada, Australia, and other parts of the world as well that I can't mention. So the fact is that we as African people, we are everywhere. And on this show, I'm presenting live in Ghana. I know Peter is in Nigeria. We have other authors that are joining from USA and UK. So it is an international platform. The aim of the platform, is to get exposure for Black authors. People always ask, where can they find out more books written by Black authors? And what I think is really great about this platform is it's a variety of books on different genres as well. So, we have history books, we have books on finance, dating. I've had people talk about illnesses like sickle cell, breast cancer. We've got Horatio later who's going to be talking about prostate cancer. But authors, children's books, we have authors that have written books on, a variety of different topics. And even myself, from, my experiences of listening to the authors on the shows, even I'm able to learn a great knowledge from a lot of the authors that come on the platform and talk about, their chosen, about their book, which is the area that their expertise on. So the format of the show it's a 3-hour show. If you're in England, it's 7 to 10. In Ghana, it's actually 6 to 9 here. And obviously USA 2 to 5 EST, 1 to 4 CST, and 11 to 2 Pacific, or wherever you are in the world. Obviously, you will know from your local time. So during the next 3 hours, you'll be hearing from a variety of authors of African heritage that will be talking about their books that have written, books of the different genres. The authors will have different time duration. So some authors will be speaking for 15 minutes, some will have be speaking for 10 minutes. But I hope it's very educational, informative, and also entertaining. So I'm really looking forward to the variety of authors on the show. Just a couple of housekeeping rules. Please, if you could mute yourself if you're not speaking, just so we don't hear anything in the background. You can feel free to change your name if you wish to. If you come on my link, if you come through like Auntie Jean's link, it will probably display your name. But if you come through my link, it will probably show Black Book Show guests when you sign in. If you are an author speaking, you rename yourself so that you can be identified. If you are a guest, feel free to change your name, but you can leave it as Black Book Show guest if you want to. Your camera, guys, camera doesn't have to be on the whole show. It's up to you if you want to have your camera on or not. I normally have my camera off when I'm not speaking, but it's optional. All right, so without any further ado, I just want to go on to the first speaker, which is Bradley Candie. So Bradley Candie, what I want to ask you to do is please start by saying, where you're based, a brief introduction about yourself, and then tell us to go on for the next 15 minutes to tell us all about, the book that you've written.
Wonderful. Greetings, everyone. My name is Bradley Candie, and I currently reside in Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States. I hope that this evening, this afternoon, this morning, depending on where you are from, you are well. I am the author of Sisters, A Promise Kept. It is my first solo project. I did help co-author a book that focuses on men and mental health and removing the stigmatism with Vanessa Anderson. But I am extremely grateful for the names that I have called out. And I hope that you will be inspired, be healed, and find peace in the pages of the book. I'd like to start just by reading a message in the preface of the book. I'm tired. The process of writing Sisters, A Promise Kept has honestly been exhausting and emotionally draining. I've had to sit with and process through all of my unresolved, painful issues, thoughts, and feelings that have resurfaced during this journey. I do not know why I was chosen to give birth to this work, but I humbly submit to the God of my understanding and accept his will and to see the mission to fruition. Sisters, A Promise Kept is inspired by the lives of three incredibly strong and courageous women, my mother, Gertrude Cox, and aunts, Shirley Weldon and Sarah Walker. This work depicts the lives of three sisters and their shared experiences, battles, and triumphs in the face of being diagnosed with breast cancer. Throughout my life, I have watched cancer unapologetically take the lives of many loved ones. If you are not familiar with or have not experienced the destructive path of cancer, consider yourself blessed. Cancer not only affects those infected with the dreaded disease, it affects those who are the caretakers. It leaves them with unforgettable images, sounds, and emotions that can haunt the deep, dark recesses of the mind. As I have often heard throughout my life, to whom much is given, much is required. I have been repeatedly blessed by such a dedicated family and nurturing family. It is my obligation to create works to honor a family that has sacrificed for my betterment. Sisters, A Promise Kept will forever immortalize the names and memories of those family members who are no longer with us and pay tribute to those who continue their fight. It is my duty to speak on behalf of those who have lost their voice. It is my responsibility to stand in the gap and remain encouraged for the tired, weary, and worn. It is my honor to carry the torch for the survivors. I refuse to surrender to the will of cancer. I will fight with every fiber of my being, with every breath in my body, and with my last ounce of strength. This has been a journey for me. It has been a therapeutic process for me. Prior to writing the book Sisters, A Promise Kept, I did mount the stage play Sisters. As I stated before, it is my way to immortalize and to etch into the memories of those who have never met and will never have had the opportunity to meet Gertrude Cox, Sarah Walker, Shirley Weldon, Helen Smith, and countless other family members and individuals that have contributed to the betterment of my life. I found that there was a need for a book version or adaptation of the play, because during the actual debut of the play, it opened up with the funeral scene of my grandmother, Helen Smith. It was done in such a way that the audience found themselves thrusted into my family's situation. They found themselves attending the funeral services. The lights were dimmed, sobs were heard as the casket was presented to the attendees. And I found that it was very real and almost too real for many of the audience members. In particular, two individuals got up in the opening scene and politely left. Fortunately for me, they were two employees of one of my friends who played Sarah Walker, my aunt. And the next day they came back to her and said, please, tell Brad Candie and the cast that we apologize for leaving so abruptly, but it is too real. I believe one individual had just lost a family member from breast cancer. And then the other individual actually had someone who I created scenarios and dialogue that I thought took place. Additionally, as a caretaker, I wanted to infuse my story, my observations, how cancer has affected me watching helplessly those individuals being abruptly taken away from me. So within the pages of the book is a story that needs to be told. I wanted to share with you briefly just the opening scene for chapter 1 so you can get a taste of my writing style. And I hope that it really, I know that it will profoundly change your life for the better. Chapter 1, Mama. I don't remember much about the night that Mama died. I try to block it out as much as possible, but sometimes when I'm not thinking, a memory or two comes rushing back to me. Sometimes the memories are so overwhelming that it knocks me clear off my feet. I do remember that night had fallen. It was pitch black outside, as the old folks used to say. I remember the faint sound of the window pane rattling back and forth because it was storming something terrible outside. The wind was blowing and the rain was beating down on the house. Back during that time, the old people would make everyone sit together in one room until the storm had passed. You couldn't talk or barely move. Mama made us turn off the TV and pull out every socket from the wall and begin to pray. And you better not talk during the storm. God help you if you did. Mama would look at you some kind of way, a way that could stop you dead in your tracks. As the storm pounded, the house shook with such force. All it just seemed like it would take would be for one good old crack, and the house would come crashing down. They sure don't build houses like this anymore. It stood up against the worst of times I had ever seen. The lightning lit up the house and scared us half to death. God was talking and we sure were listening. Some of my older aunts and uncles would tell stories of when it stormed like it did the night that Mama died. It was God's way of bringing the old home to heaven and birthing the new into the world. Mama never stirred a bit during the storm. She just laid there with her eyes fixed on the ceiling, or at least it seemed. To me, she was staring God right in the eyes. There was nothing peaceful about her death. Nothing peaceful at all. Her breathing was off some kind of way. It was forced and labored. I swear I could hear each and every breath that she took. Each time she exhaled, I prayed to God that it would not be her last. As I stood on the other side of her bed, every once in a while, I would lock eyes with my younger sister, Sarah. We didn't say anything to each other, but just looked. You know, that kind of look that could send a chill right down the center of your spine, that kind of look that a mother would give her child who was showing out in front of company. It was that look that pierced you right through your heart. We were about to lose our dear, sweet Mama. things would never be the same for us. No matter how hard we try to justify and even lie to ourselves, the truth was staring us right in the face. Mama was leaving this world. I want to encourage you to know that each and every one of us were born on purpose, with a purpose. Our job is not to figure out the how. For me, that was left up to God. My responsibility was to be obedient and follow through with the charge that God assigned to me. I do believe that if we do not wish to fulfill the purpose, that the purpose, the gift that was given to you will be still fulfilled by others. God will provide and assign that purpose and that way to achieve that purpose to someone else. My how, as I am so excited to let you know, was fulfilled through a friend of mine who published my book. His name is Derek Wills. His company, the Identity Corporation, changed the trajectory of my life and took what I wrote on paper, some 250 some pages handwritten back and forth, back and front, and put it together in the form of something that was tangible. Check this brother out. He is my how. He is located and can be found on Facebook and Instagram, Derek Wills and the Identity Corporation. In closing, I wish to share something with you. I went to get some gas for my car just the other day.
Okay, Bradley, you just got two minutes left, so just bear that in mind.
Yes, sir. And I provided this book to a lady that was reading another book in front of the gas station. I asked her if she was an avid reader, and she said yes. I gifted her with a copy of the book. Days later, I came by and I was walking, and she called out, "Hey, Gert." She called out my mother's name. That just solidified that the purpose was being fulfilled. In closing, I will leave you this. I charge you with the awesome responsibility of celebrating life. Cancer's mission is to silence the disheartened. Do not allow cancer to steal your voice. Scream, yell, shout, dance, laugh, and rejoice. Let cancer hear you. Let cancer know that you are not afraid. Let it be your absolute resolute to take your power back and to no longer be a voluntary victim. Fight, fight. I can hear you. It sounds so beautiful. Follow me on bradley.candie via Instagram. My book is located on Amazon and Barnes & Nobles, and you may also follow me on the website bradleycandie.com. Thank you for allowing me to share, and God bless.
Thank you. And just repeat again the title of the book.
The title is Sisters, A Promise Kept.
Okay, thank you very much, Bradley. Please, you can put the details of where people can purchase your book in the Zoom chat and in any social media handles if you wish to do that as well. So
thank you so much
for coming onto the Black Book Show.
Wonderful tribute. Thank you.
Yes, yes. So let's go on to our next speaker now, swiftly moving on. Chevon Patrick. Chevon, can you please start by telling us where you're based, and then a brief introduction, and then go on to tell us, all about the books that you've written about credit.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate and am thankful, so grateful for being able to be here today. Thank you for everybody that was able to tune in and all the authors here on the platform. This is just such a blessing for me. My name is Chevon Patrick, and I am originally from Denver, Colorado. I've moved around quite a bit. I travel a lot. I'm currently in Atlanta, Georgia, visiting friends and family. Let's see. So I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have a few businesses. My first business was Major League Credit and Lending. So I started that business in 2017, and it's been going ever since. My newest business, which is like my new passion, is CKP Publishing Group. So I have started publishing books that tie into my brand for the Major League Credit and Lending. So I've started publishing books about credit. I'm big on education. I'm a spiritualist. I'm a naturopath. I am also a cancer survivor. So shout out to you, Bradley. I was really feeling what you were saying. So yes, I have been there as well, struggling with cancer and having to have a transplant and everything. So it was definitely a crazy journey. So I can relate 100%. And yeah, I'm just blessed to be here today. I apologize for the sunglasses. So I also am having a flare up today. So please forgive me. I normally wouldn't have sunglasses on, but I have a very rare autoimmune disease that I acquired actually through having my transplant. It's called graft versus host disease. So a lot of people have never heard of it before, but it causes inflammation in the skin and in my eyes and things like that. So I'm really sensitive to light, and sometimes, I flare up. So today I'm having a mild flare up. So that's why I have the sunglasses on. So please forgive me in advance. But back to what I was saying. So I've got my businesses. I started my book, started my publishing company. All of my books so far have tied into credit. So I have my first book, which is called The Credit Game, Plays We Were Never Taught. And it is about personal credit. And it's just educating people on how credit works, especially the Black and Brown communities, because I realized that finances typically weren't talked about in the Black households. It wasn't talked about in my household. I never even knew about credit until it was really literally too late. Like I had already destroyed my credit. I had no idea what the heck I was doing. And, I went to apply for some credit. I think it was to get a phone, and they denied me because they said my credit was bad. And I was like, what the heck is credit? So that's how I learned about credit. And I'm also realizing the more that, I deal with my clients, that this is a across the board type of thing. Like it's not just it didn't just happen with me. Like this is very common that people don't know about credit and financial wealth and how to build financial wealth and things like that. So that is why that's what fuels my passion. That's how I got into my business, because once I learned that, I could repair my credit and the things that I could do and how I could, manipulate it, and it took me a long time of trial and error of learning about credit in general, how it works and everything. So after I was able to finally get my credit together, I was able to purchase a home and have nice cars and have nice things. And people began asking for my help. Like, how you got such a nice car? How'd you buy a house? So that's how I got into the business. It was really about helping other people use credit to achieve their goals and leverage it so that they could do things and buy things that, you can't normally afford, or you don't have, the cash for. So that's how all of this came about. So it has been a very rewarding journey for me, and being in the publishing side of it is just really great because I have so many different things that I enjoy. I'm into a lot of different things. I have a lot of different interests. So publishing is perfect for me because normally it would seem like, I'm all over the place because I know about so many things, but books is like the perfect outlet for me to be able to express myself and be able to put that knowledge out to other people so that they can also take advantage of it. And yeah, I'm just really loving it. So I published my book about 7 months ago. It's doing really well. I just released my second book this month, and it's also doing really well. And the second book is about business credit. So the first book's about personal credit, just breaking it down, really just giving everybody a very layman's term explanation and breakdown of how personal credit works, how you can leverage it, how you can improve it, and things like that. Then my second book is also called, it's a series, I'm going to create a bundle for it, and it's called The Credit Game: Entrepreneur Secrets to Building Business Credit Using Your EIN. So this is also very important because a lot of people don't realize that you can start a business without having a whole bunch of money saved up. You know, there's ways to get capital without going to a bank and looking for traditional funding. So I'm more so on the side of servicing people that have, you know, poor credit or don't have the assets or don't have the collateral or the cash flow to, you know, invest a lot of money into starting their small business. So that's my goal with this second book, just to educate people on how to build business credit without using their personal assets, without using their personal credit, and being able to separate the two, because that's also important. A lot of people start their businesses based off of their personal savings and their personal credit. You don't want to do that. So a lot of people also don't even know that business credit exists. So because of that, there's a huge access to funding problem, a cash flow access problem in our community specifically. And that gap, I want to work and continue to work to educate, to close that gap. So that's pretty much my main goal. And let's see what else. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I have the links for my book. I don't have a physical copy here with me because, again, I'm traveling, but I can drop the links in the chat if you would like to purchase my book, or if you would like to join my community. I'm starting to build out my Facebook community for other authors to, you know, educate them and also help them build business credit so that they can use other people's money to build their business, start their business, scale their business, and what have you. So let me see what else. I think that's about it. Yeah, I think that's about it.
And what's that Facebook group? Because you mentioned a Facebook group. So what's it called?
It's called Wealth and Wellness Books. So I'm just now getting it started. I haven't really, it's like a whole nother beast. I'm not really good with social media. I don't really post on social media a lot. That's really just not my thing. But I'll drop the link in the chat so that you guys can join. I am going to get it going soon. I just, like I said, that's a whole nother beast. So let me get it. I have the link here, and I'll put the link for the books in the chat also. Let me do that right now.
Okay, can you just mention again, you know, the title of the books, and they're available just again so people that are listening on radio they can hear, because I know you're going to put in the link, but for people on radio, just mention again the title of the books and where it's purchased.
Absolutely, yes. You can get it off of Amazon. So the first book is called The Credit Game: Plays We Were Never Taught, and it's Chevon Patrick, Chevon Patrick. And the second book is The Credit Game: Entrepreneur Secrets to Building Business Credit Using EIN. And that's also on Amazon.
Okay,
So,
thank you
yeah.
very much, Chevon Patrick. Is there anything more you want you to add before we move on to the next author?
No, I don't think so. I think that's it. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you.
Okay, it's a pleasure having you, and I'm looking forward to as well the interview that we've got upcoming on the Black Book Show podcast. So I look forward to that. For those who are unaware, this is the Black Book Show, the virtual book tour, but I also have the Black Book Show podcast and radio show where I interview authors one-on-one in depth so they can talk about, you know, their books a bit more in depth. So if you would like to go on the Black Books podcast and radio show, please get out and contact me. I broadcast on 2 radio stations every other Monday and every other Saturday. And the podcast is broadcasted on Spotify. So you can get at me at info@blackbookshows.com. info@blackbookshows.com, or alternatively, if you go on the website, which is www.blackbookshows.com, there is a section there which says contact us. And if you just fill in the contact us form, that email will go to me, and then I will then follow up with you. Right. Let me go on to our next author. Our next author is Paula Watson Gardner. So Paula, please, if you'd like to come on, please start by saying where you're based, and then give a brief introduction about yourself, and then tell us, all about the book that you've written.
Hello guys, hi everyone. My name is Paula Watson Gardner. I'm currently living in the UK. I've been living here for all my life. I was born here from Bajan parents, and grew up here from the 70s onwards. I'm 52 years old, and loving life. So I'm a personal trainer. I'm a fitness instructor, a health coach, and also the author of the book that I released last year, which is A Healthy Black Life, A Cultural Guide to Better Health. As I say, I live here. I grew up as, I'll just tell you a little bit about my background. I grew up as a very sporty person with my siblings in Essex, and I ended up moving into athletics because I loved jumping about and doing all sports. So athletics was my thing. And so I basically developed through my teen years, and I continued on with athletics into 20s, getting quite successful actually at what I was doing. But then obviously you need to earn a living. And so I went into working, that's in administration. And I went from jobs to jobs in administration, but I always had a love for fitness, health, and well-being. So eventually, after working long years in office and administration, and even working within government and doing charity work and lots of things, I decided to step back into what I love talking about, what I love doing, and what I wanted to help people with was their health, fitness and well-being. So I became a qualified personal trainer, an instructor, and I have been running my own health business for the last 12, 13 years. So that's told you a bit about my background up until me wanting to write the book. The reason I wrote the book and when I wrote the book was during COVID. I think one of the main things for me was being in the UK, what ignited me to think, what can I do with skills and the talent and what I know to help with regards to the Black community being becoming very vulnerable when it came to COVID, and so much so that the media were talking about it. And obviously, I wanted to get down to why that was. So the Black and the Asian community was struggling. It's not just UK, worldwide. Even though, obviously, the elderly were vulnerable too. So I did my research and I thought, what can I do? Speaking to God, what can I do? And I think the one thing I could do to get to more people to think, what can I do to help, was to write a book, because obviously a book can go further than what I can do individually. So that's why I started to write my book, Healthy Black Life, A Cultural Guide to Better Health. Now, I know there's lots of fitness and wellness and health books out there, but I really wanted to do something that was relatable and was calling out our community. One of the things I found out in the research while I was writing the book was that the government sees in the UK, the NHS that we have, National Health Service, they look at the African and Caribbean community, our health is poor. That's what they basically stated it. So, and I thought, well, we really do need to address the issue of, well, why is that? And what can we do? What steps can we make so that this doesn't continue to be a generational thing? So I did my research and I thought everything I wanted to do, and I poured it into this book. The whole umbrella of my business is health and well-being. So my book, Healthy Black Life, a Cultural Guide to Better Health. It is basically packed with so much stuff, but in a step-by-step guide. First of all, I do talk about an introduction to why we are so sick. That was my introduction. And so I just look at a few of the issues, the concerns we have, some of the diseases that are common amongst the Black community as well. And I touch on just looking at our culture, lifestyle, habits, to see why we've come to where we are, because they need address. We need to live long, we need to live strong. And so I take you on a journey, basically, and I bring my own lifestyle of growing up in the UK as well. Let me just read to you a little bit at the beginning of my book when it comes to me wanting to talk a little bit about how I was growing up in the UK as well. As a child growing up in London, Sunday was Cultural Food Day, and the rest of the week was typical English food from the local shops. I can recall our small kitchen was a hive of activity after church on a Sunday morning. A large pot of rice and various pans sizzling with frying meat and fish on the stove with spices, herbs, onions, flour, and root vegetables, including beetroot scattered on the worktop. It was common for me and my siblings to stay out of the kitchen when Mum was cooking, or else be burned by spitting fat from the frying pan, or our clothes being consumed with strong smell of dinner that was lingering in the air, not forgetting the lack of visibility in the room due to the excessive amounts of steam. Today, I still love a Sunday afternoon at my mother's house when the whole family descends on the lovingly prepared, delicious spread of Caribbean cuisine with a bottle of hot pepper sauce always on hand. I'm a bit of a lightweight when it comes to heat, so I leave well alone. It's very traditional for my mum to cook big food on a Sunday, even if she doesn't know who or how many will turn up. If we didn't, she would just dash any leftovers in the freezer, then bring them back out the following weekend. Can anyone else relate? My absolute favourite day for a delicious, wholesome meal was and still remains Sunday. So I did want to put myself into the book just to see how, so I can just bring out more about maybe other people obviously lived the same sort of way. We brought up in even though we were outside of Barbados and from our origins, there were still things that were common among us. So I wanted to place them in the book. After talking about those sorts of things, we look at why are we so sick? Again, like I spoke about before, I wanted to mention there was a survey that was done 2018-19. It's a Sports England survey, and they just stated the Black community were the most inactive of all of the ethnic community in the UK, and men more so than the ladies. There was also a government health report saying, and this was in 2020, that there was 62.8% of Black adults were overweight, or they like to use the word obese. And that again was the highest of all the ethnic groups. Obviously, the Asian community are there too. So from all of this work I wanted to do and what the work I found out, I thought, well, what can we do to start turning the tide on poor health? We need longevity. I mean, we've been talking about cancer, and yes, that and a wealth of other diseases that among human beings anyway, but I wanted to focus on our community and what was maybe some of the things that we can do to help reduce disease. One of the things that I also talk about is our cultural history and lifestyle, like I mentioned before. One of the things I mentioned in there is about the food we like to eat. And that and how food plays a part. Food is actually medicine, but also too much medicine can have a detrimental effect on our bodies. So some of the food I talk about sugar, I talk about salt in the book. I also talk about our lifestyles in general, which includes mental health, which includes our faith, which includes, obviously, like I'm talking about, our lifestyle. And then we talk about, I do mention some of the common diseases in the book, looking at hypertension, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, obesity, type 2 diabetes, cancer, as well as mental health, and how, what are some of the common causes? And food can have something to do with it. So even though this book isn't a medical book, it's all about saying, where are we, helping people to stop and pause and think, where am I in my health journey? And what can I do to improve some of those things with regards to what goes into my body and movement. So I do put in a cultural food guide. And the cultural food guide is about how we like to cook our food, and maybe having some alternatives that are slightly healthier alternatives to how. One of the things that I don't want to do is, and people don't need to do, is stop eating the food that we like to eat. But there are maybe some alternatives that we can do with regards to how we cook our food and even what we put in our food as well, because that's important. We will eat what we like to eat. But are there slightly healthier ways and options that we can do? And that's part of my cultural food guide that I put in there. So that's part of the book. We also have some good nuggets on just day-to-day, one-step things that you can do, like, for example, even how you chew your food. Are you chewing your food? We talk about water. Are you drinking enough water? All these things are really important to your digestive system, to so much in the body. And it just makes you mindful. I ask questions about how, just where you are right now, just to trigger you to thinking, okay, where am I right now? Is that me? How late we eat? Things like that, and the effect it has on our body. As I said, I go through to the alternative cooking options, and I'm just going, because there's so much packed in this book, and we also go through the macronutrients and the vitamins, the important things that need to go in, and the things that maybe not as much go in as well. So what needs to go in and what we need to replace things with. So, and it gives you a little bit of education on just how the body works. I also look at body frame, body shape, our bodies in general, and how as we age, there's slightly different processes and things that happen to our body, which is important to know really when we make our choices in our day-to-day. So we look at our body types, and because I'm a fitness instructor and a personal trainer, we look at movement. I look at, because movement's a biggie, that we need to be able to move more, whether that's at home. You don't need to join a gym. You don't need to join a gym. No, you can do movements at home. You can do movement, more movement at work. And I suggest certain things that you can do to help with more movement. And I do put some exercise in. If you want to exercise at home, you can do some exercise. There's chair yoga, normal yoga. There's some circuits, just exercises that you can do, but you go at your own pace, and it's one step at a time. So with that and my business of, was my book, off the basis of the book, I do have another book, which I brought out. You can get my book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble in the States as well. And I have my own website on healthybuiltlife.com. Or if you put in healthyblacklife.com, it will come up with, the website. I've got another book, it's a diary. So on top of this book, which is a book to help you step into healthier living, there is a diary that I've produced, which has, it's like a weekly diary. So you can have little weekly mini goals. You can put down what you've eaten, what you've drunk, and then you've got like a roundup at the end, just to help you keep you on track, just to help you keep you accountable on what you want to do. It's good to have mini goals. It's good to have long-term goals.
Okay, Paula, you've got 2 minutes left.
Thank you. And on top of that, you'll find this all on my website. Just go and have a look. I have married an executive chef, and he spent a lot of times working in Ghana at hotels, and we have created a low salt all-purpose seasoning. You know, salt and sugar, everybody wants to talk about it, but this gives you a bit more information on that whole thing about glucose and how we eat lots of starchy or white beige food, and how it turns to glucose in the body to form energy. And some of these things, if you don't use that energy, it stores as fat and can retain a lot of water. But anyway, I've got a low salt all-purpose seasoning. It's got paprika, turmeric, garlic, ginger. I know we're only at the moment shipping the UK, but I'd love to. I will be getting it more international. But the whole purpose is to have a little more lower salt. And also on my website, you'll see I run retreats to get people to step back and even energize and invigorate themselves to move forward health-wise. So we do exercise and workshops, have a time of relaxation, and it's just a time for them to step back out of normal life. So on healthybuiltlife.com is where you can find my book, seasoning, learn a little bit more about me, and Amazon. As I say, the book's called Healthy Black Life, A Cultural Guide to Better Health. But I really am on a mission to help us to move forward with our health. And do you know what? Live long, live strong. Unfortunately, I lost my brother a couple of years ago. He was too young. And again, that has even more fired me up to really want to be able to support people. If people want to speak about anything, if there's a way I can support, you can have a 15-minute free consultation from my website. Again, you can actually look in if that's something, whether you're suffering from diabetes or aches and pains. And I do a program as well. So that's me, and that's my book, Healthy Black Life, A Cultural Guide to Better Health. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Paula Watson-Gardner. Very, very interesting and very informative as well. I think it's great work you're doing there. So please put your details and links in the Zoom chat. So if anyone wants to purchase a copy of the book or possibly reach out to you, they know where to do so. Right, I'm now going to introduce our next speaker. Our next guest is Barbara Ellis. Barbara Ellis, could you please start by telling us where you're based, a very brief introduction, so we know who you are, and then tell us, all about the books you've written.
Okay. Where am I? I can't see me. Hi, my name is Bob. Well, good evening and good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm not actually on the page. Sorry.
What do you mean? Sorry, what do you mean you're not on the page?
I'm
we can
seeing
see you. Oh, we can see
Yeah.
you. No, do you know what is? That's what happens on Zoom. So, for example, you won't be able. You'll probably be seeing me, or now you'll be seeing like my logo. But don't worry, you're on camera. Everyone's seeing you now. Looking
All
at
right.
you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll start again. Hello, everyone. My name is Barbara Ellis. I live in London. I've lived in London for most of my life. I am a retired teacher. I've written several books. I've been writing for a long time. I've been writing about things to do with schooling. Like my first major book was about how parents could help Black children in Britain to achieve, because our children weren't doing so well. And then I went on to do another book about the arrival of Black people in England, the elders talking about what life was like for them in England. And then I went on to do another book about, I went to India, and I got really upset because the British monarchy and the Indian monarchy had killed all the tigers. They used to have hunting expedition and kill lots and lots of tigers. And a lot of tigers now are almost extinct. So I wrote a children's book about that, tiger hunts, and enjoy it. Then I went on to look at our history. And I thought I needed to do something. I was geared up to do something about our history. So I did, I started to do a book, a series called An African Journey book 1 and book 2. And the book is about our journey from Africa to here, to the Caribbean, and then to England. And the book, what's interesting about the book is that the book features somebody who I thought, you can't write a book about Africa and the journey from Africa to the Caribbean, which was a really horrific one. You know, we didn't volunteer to come, we were actually stolen and taken. And who was best to do that? And I thought of all the stories I knew at the time and the stories we told the children at school. And so I came up with Anansi Spider-Man. And next to me, I have Brother Anansi and Sister Anansi. And those two characters have come out of the book for younger children. African Journey, book 1 and 2 is mainly for people 12 years and upwards. Yeah, it's not so good for the younger ones. So I developed the Anansi characters to take to schools, to take to libraries, and to tell the Anansi story. So in the book, African Journey, book 1 and 2, Anansi is the main character. He is the savior of the people who were stolen from Africa. The enslavers couldn't ban Anansi. They banned a lot of things from Africa. They banned our language, they banned our dress, they banned lots of things, but they couldn't ban Anansi because Anansi was in the heads of the people who were dragged from Africa, stolen and brought to the West. And so for the people who came, they had to have something to hold on to, something to believe in, somebody to be with them, somebody to comfort them. And Anansi was that person. So in book 1, we start with Anansi because he's incredibly versatile. He gave me the opportunity to look at Africa, at the Caribbean, before Columbus came. And I was able, because he's such a versatile character, I was able to use him to show how the hurricanes that come across from Africa every year and hits the Caribbean and the Americas. Could have for children to understand that it is possible to come across from Africa to the Caribbean, and that many Africans came before Columbus. And so if you look at the work of Van Sertima, Rukuno Rashidi, who's died recently, he talks about the Africans who came over thousands of years ago and landed in America. And Rashidi actually does tours for people around, he did tours because he's now died. He does tours for people to Mexico to look at the giant heads of Africans and say, get from Africa on a log and land in Mexico. And as he explored, he came across the heads of huge African heads. And he was able to say, well, our ancestors came here thousands and thousands of years ago with Africa, that are the remains from when Africans were there, the Olmecs. Then he's so flexible that he explores the whole of South America and the indigenous peoples, the Tianos, and other groups that were living in South America at the time. And he shows us how they lived, how they were very industrious, how things were going for them. And finally, he ends up in Haiti. And as he lands in Haiti, he comes across Columbus. Columbus is arriving in his 3 ships. And he lands on Haiti, and he gets in with the people, and he sees Columbus arriving, and he sees what Columbus does to all the people in Haiti. And after 25 years, most of the indigenous peoples were dead, and the Spanish didn't have anybody to work for them. So there was somebody called Las Casas, Bishop Las Casas, and he suggested to the Spanish king that they bring Africans over. And that's where our horrific journey started, when they started stealing us from Africa and bringing us on the long journey. And what's also nice about Anansi, on that journey, he was in the heads and the minds of the people who were in the hulls of ships. And he comes among them and he tries to comfort them, and they're happy. And also, one of the great things about Anansi was that his mission was to make the life of the slave masters hell and their employees. And on one journey, he's with the enslaved Africans, and he wants to comfort them because they're in such pain and agony. He dances for them and he sings in his language, the various languages of the various people. And as he's dancing, the guards, white guards, see this African dancing and they say, "What's this African doing here dancing?" And then Anansi disappears. And then this man scratches his head and said, "Oh, you know, what's this?" And Anansi comes back. So by this time, he's really, really upset. And so he goes to his bosses and he says, "Oh, Anansi is doing, this African has escaped and he's doing his mumbo jumbo. And I whipped him, but he disappeared." This time, absolutely drunk, because Africans can't, they're tied in a hole. How can they possibly be dancing? You must be drunk. There's something wrong with you. So that's, from then on, Anansi uses his power to confuse the slave masters. And when he goes with them on the plantation, equally, they become really afraid of Anansi because they see the Africans doing things, but suddenly something else happens and they say, "That's a bit strange." And so in actual fact, the slave masters were really afraid of the Africans. They were petrified, also because there were so many of us, they were outnumbered, but also they were afraid of the magic of Africans. And one of the things they did was to ban obia, because they said that the Africans would try and work magic on them. And Anansi was central to that. He's also versatile in that he's also very moral. He looks at what's happening on the plantation and he looks at the way the slave masters treat, for example, the women. And he really sides with the women. And he says, "I understand your pain and I understand what's happened to you, to be raped, to be brutalized, to be forced to have children, to be the next generation of slave labor. I agree with you totally," and he supports them all the way. But he's also very good because he then turns to the brothers and he said, "I know we're all in it together. We all have a hard time. You have a hard time, the women have a hard time, but you need to be more supportive of your women." So Anansi is really, really versatile in this book. He takes us right up until 1838 in book 1, when the Africans in 1831-32 rose up, 60,000 rose up. And that was the beginning of the overthrow of slavery. But throughout that period, I found there were thousands and thousands of uprisings on the island. I once went online and found a website, and I couldn't save it because there were so many uprisings. The book is good in terms of telling us what happened. At the end of the book, he celebrates with the Africans because he's been with them. He's done everything to support them. He supported the Maroons against the British army. He helps them to defeat the army at times. He's just such, it's the best thing the Africans could ever have. I was talking to someone, I was saying to someone that my book is all about Anansi and the Africans coming over. And she said the Africans needed him because life was so difficult for them. So the book goes up to 1838. And at the end of book 1, they've managed to get their freedom, but it's not freedom because whatever the slave masters said was only temporary. nothing was true. They, after 1834, they said they were free, but they made a law which said they had to be apprentices for another 4 years, so that the Barbadian planters to get the money. The Barbadian planters wanted more money, and the British wouldn't give them, only gave them a certain amount. So the deal was the Africans would have to work another 4 years to make the Barbadian planters get what they want. At the end of book 1, they dance the dance to freedom, yeah? And they know it's only temporary because they can't just leave the plantation because there's more. Yes, I and Nancy led the dance. The beat of the drums oozed into our bones, minds, souls, and our very core. Our limbs spun, jumped, and vibrated excitedly in our freedom dance. Water ran from our fatigued torsos, but freedom was precious. And so we danced beyond exhaustion to honor this supreme achievement. The girls and boys wheeled to the frantic beating of drums, conch shells and finger instruments crafted out of wood and metal. The elaborate masked animal faces of the Jankuda players threatened the crowds with their steadfast and menacing fierceness, the same fierceness that won the victorious Africans the freedom they were celebrating. So in book 2, the journey takes us from 1838 to 1948, when the Windrush, the majority of the Windrush people came to Britain. And the book, it is interesting because it deals with what happens after slavery, because there was this promise of freedom, but in actual fact, that was just, they work 4 years after 1834 to 1838 to gain their freedom. In their freedom, what they found was that the slave masters were very, very upset.
Okay, Barbara, you've got 2 minutes left.
The Africans dared to free themselves. They made life really, really difficult for them. And again, Anansi's here with them, and he's working with them, and he's helping them to overcome their the problems they're having. And he's trying to get them money to buy things like land, enough money so they can free themselves and live ordinary lives. Then we come on to 98, when the Windrush arrived, and this book goes through what happened in schooling, the struggle for schooling, the struggle for education, struggle with the police, struggle for housing, and it deals with all those issues that the Windrush generation faced, our parents' generation faced when they came. Okay, and so the book can be bought from Amazon. It can be bought from me. It's cheaper if you buy it from me. And it really covers a long period of time, but it really challenges the notion that we haven't got a history. And Nancy really was the epitome of our history and our culture and the continuity of it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That was Barbara Ellis. Please put the details in the Zoom chat. And one more time, just for the people listening on Black Culture Radio and also Facebook Live, just please repeat the titles of your book, where they can be purchased from.
Yeah, the books are An African Journey, book 1 and book 2. They can be bought from Amazon or Hansip, or they can be bought from me in England. I have an email address that I'll put in the chat.
Okay, thank you very much, Barbara Ellis. So let's go on to our next speaker, another great, I think all the speakers that have been on the Black Book Show have been brilliant. I've really enjoyed listening to, the different authors, and I'm looking forward to other authors that will be speaking. Horatio Bennett, welcome to the Black Book Show. Please, could you start by telling us where you're based and introducing yourself? Yeah, please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Horatio Bennett, and I am a cancer survivor. At age 64, I had developed cancer. But before I go into that, I've written a book called Coping with Prostate Cancer, The Aftermath. And I'm going to read the foreword, and that will kind of give me more ammunition to dive into the meat of the book. Foreword. Many of us being burdened with the after effects of a devastating incident, in this case, prostate cancer surgery. First, we must consider ourselves blessed that we have survived the initial impact of having the disease and have gone through the actual surgery. This should be a count your blessings moment. When I first learned I contracted the disease prostate cancer, I thought about the many others that have had this ailment and did not survive. Was I merely a statistic? After hundreds of hours in research and the decision to have the radical surgery, I faced the reality that I indeed had survived prostate cancer. I have also read that many who survived the surgery later only to become affected with the initial ailment and did not survive. This is my reason for considering myself blessed. Now, after 14 years of coping with the aftermath, I feel I have weathered the course and can make meaningful contribution to the many others who are facing the same dilemma with apprehensions. Well, I'm here to tell you that coping with the aftermath of a prostate surgery is doable, and a whole new life of survival instinctive experiences await. My name is Horatio Bennett, and I am in Michigan. I am in Farmington Hills, which is one of the suburbs of Detroit, Michigan. To my international audience, yes, this is where they make motor cars. At age 64, I survived. I was contracted with prostate cancer, and I survived the disease. And the experience that I had during that process is that inspired me to write a book. And the reason for writing a book is because many of us, before the year 2023 ends, almost 200,000 men of African descendants will contract prostate cancer. Of those 200,000, I'm talking about just the United States alone. I'm not talking about the rest of the world. Those 200,000, there will be about approximately 8,000 of them will die. Now, the thing is that this is a lean forward moment. The thing is that you don't have to. If you have prostate cancer, it is very doable. There are many things that you can do to avoid what you call the accepted ultimate end. It is not a death sentence. You can survive prostate cancer. But I am talking about after the cancer. Now, if you have had prostate cancer, I can assure you that your life will forever change. It doesn't matter what degree, whatever you have, your stage of cancer is or was, your life will invariably change. And one of the experiences that I've had that really had a lasting moment with me is that when I contracted prostate cancer, it did not just affect me, but it affected my immediate family, and not just my immediate family, but my entire community. So we can't be selfish in not taking care of ourselves, because I have written several books, 8 books in all, but this is the one that I'm kind of zeroing because this is closest to me. But I've written a book that says, Black America, we are dependent on you. This is to say that your relatives, your family, your community is dependent on you. So it is your responsibility to survive cancer. I don't know how that is going to be taken, but the reality is that people are dependent on you. People are being affected by your dilemma. I remember when I was first diagnosed with prostate cancer, my late wife, then bless her soul, we got together and we did a lot of research, and we decided what was the best move to make. I am saying that to say that you have got to have somebody on your side. You don't have to fight it alone. You have got your doctor, you have got whomever you're with, and I will emphasize that if you're unmarried, then your girlfriend or whomever you're with should be your best friend. If you are married, your wife should be your best friend. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that because you're married, your wife is your best friend, because reality is that your wife knows so much about you that she has a lot of reasons not to be your best friend. But this is something that you have got to cultivate. Whoever you're with, let that person that you're with be your best friend, because there will be a moment in your life that you will have to depend solely on that person. I remember when I was, after the cancer, I was in bed, and I don't know how many are familiar with the after surgery situation, but there is a period in which you have to I can't find the right word for it, but there's a period in which you have to deal with your situation. And I was taken back with the way how my late wife really cared. I mean, she did, well, I was like in a comatose situation, and she really cared for me. She made sure that I go to the bathroom, or I use the bathroom even still lying on the bed. And she did all those things. Why? Because I nurtured her to be my best friend. I took care of her. I loved her. I cherished her to be my best friend. And now I am in a situation in which I need somebody like that. She came forward. So coping with prostate cancer is something that you have. First thing, if you are a person of African descent, chances are you will contract prostate cancer. Just like appendicitis, most everybody have that disease, but it might not materialize within your lifetime. I am 81 years old, and I believe that had I not taken care of myself after the surgery, I would not be here talking with you. Prior to the surgery, prior to having prostate cancer, understand that there is nothing you or anybody can do to prevent it. It is one of these things like diabetes. There are certain things that contributed to diabetes. If you don't do them, the chances are less likely you will contract diabetes. The same thing with prostate cancer. The way you eat, the way you exercise, the way you think, the way you do anything, if it is positive, it can be one of the instruments that will delay, not the inevitable, but what might delay the eventual prostate cancer situation. From my book, I'm going to read a couple of things here. Let me know when my time is up. Let me read a couple of things here. A person who has had prostate cancer, like I said, their lives will forever change in many respects. The way they think, the way they eat, the way they walk, the way they act. It is subconscious. You might not realize it, but you will be a different person. And this is what the book is about, how to cope with the after effects. I am not a medical doctor, so anything that I say should not be astute as medical advice or anything, but we can do many things to lessen the chances of having prostate cancer. And that's a very important thing. Like I said, researchers, doctors are still trying to find out what causes prostate cancer. And on top of that, they are still trying to find out why prostate cancer so disproportionately affect people of African descent, African American, African Caribbean, African Jamaican. I'm a Jamaican. I'm sure that you might have picked that up by now. But there really isn't too much we can do to not have prostate cancer. But it will give us a very confident frame of mind as we go through life, knowing that I am not eating a lot of red meat, and I'm not doing this, and I'm not doing that. And there's a whole lot of things that people can say, I haven't got cancer because I didn't eat red meat. That is not. My father, he died at 105. And they all tell us that if you drink or if you smoke, you're going to die early. Papi, who's a little Indian man, Papi smoked all his life. He's an Indian, so he couldn't hold that liquor. He drinks all his life. But Papi lived to be 105 years old. He went to bed and did not wake up. He did not die from prostate cancer. He did not die from cancer by smoking. He did not die from any alcoholic mistreatment or anything. But I am saying that there are certain things that we need to do. My book is available at Amazon Book, but it is also available on my own website, which is called readebooks.org. readebooks.org. It is available in ebooks form. I concentrate mostly on doing ebooks because most people are reading from their iPads as opposed to turning the pages of a book. I'm not discouraging my other authors not to print your book, but if necessary, let it be through an ebook in there. Prostate cancer, I'm trying to find something. Okay. I also mentioned how scared, apprehensive I was. Mostly because losing my family, but so much more about the sexual limitations or lack thereof. That is one of the fear that men have. Men have that fear that if I had prostate cancer, I'm not going to be able to have sex anymore. That might be so. But this book is telling you that if you cannot have sex anymore, then it will tell you how to deal with it, because you can deal with the situation. And it is very, very important. It says, I was very thankful for the attitude, the upbeat attitude of my late wife and my doctor. It was
okay,
there.
Horatio, yes. You've got two minutes left.
All right, I've got 2 minutes left. My book, Coping with Prostate Cancer, is something that everybody should read. Whether you are a man or a female, whether you're black or you're white, this has information that will infect everybody in your community. If your neighbor has cancer, you're going to be affected. If your politician has cancer, you're going to be affected. The name of the book is Coping with Prostate Cancer. I don't know if I'm looking at it here, but it's reversed. But anyway, it's called Coping with Prostate Cancer. It's available on Amazon, but I'd rather you would go to readebooks.org, because when you purchase it from Amazon, I won't get all the money. But when you purchase it from our website, I will get all the money. Please take time out to go visit your doctor and ask your doctor about your prostate. I'm talking to my brothers, my culturally oriented brothers. Ask your doctor what's happening with your prostate, because he's not going to volunteer that information. You go and you ask, and I hope that I have said something that will motivate somebody to do something about their prostate and about their health, because an early diagnosis in anything can add invariably at least 30 years to your life. I thank you very much for this opportunity to voice my opinion, and my brother Sankofa, thank you very much. And I really do enjoy it, and I hope that this is beneficial. It is beneficial to me because it allows me to express myself. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Horatio. I think that book will be beneficial to, well, it's beneficial to a lot of people. It's on a very important topic. And I'm proud to believe you're the first person who's actually talked about prostate cancer that's been on the Black Book Show. We've had people talk about breast cancer, sickle cell, other illnesses, mental health, but particularly prostate cancer. I think you're the first person who's spoken about on the platform. And you did, you covered it very, very well. It's a great speech. And it was very, very informative. Please put your links in the Zoom chat. Also as well, authors, when you put your links in the Zoom chat for your books, if you want to be contacted, if you want to put social media links or email, please feel free to do that. Obviously, that's optional if you want to do that, but please feel free in case, someone wants to reach out to you and contact you and take things further from there. All right. Thank you very much, Horatio, for coming on the Black Book Show. Let me introduce the next author. The next author is featured on the Black Book Show for his second time. K.E. Robinson. He's an author of a couple of books. Welcome back onto the Black Book Show, K.E. Robinson. Please tell the people watching and listening where you're joining us from, where you're based, and a brief introduction about yourself. And before you go on to talk about the book or the books you've decided to talk about this evening.
Hey, good evening to y'all. I'm happy to be on here once again with my brother Sankofa, and also my brother Peter sitting over there somewhere in the dark corner over there. I'm happy to see him again as well. Before I start talking about me, I want to talk about the importance of having these forums like this. There's so many authors around the world, Black authors, that you don't hear about because they don't have enough platforms like this. One of the most important things is community. When we talk about Black authorship or just authorship in general, is having the right people around you. It was about a year ago in this same spot that I came with Sankofa and talked about my second book just before I released it. Maybe about a year before that, I submitted my first book to Peter, and he was able to go and actually review it live on his YouTube channel. And as has been mentioned earlier, there's so many people that subscribe to Peter's YouTube channel that are going to see this broadcast right now. So if you're not familiar with those guys outside of what you see today, I would get familiar with those guys moving forward. In fact, Sankofa, at some point I'm going to be on his podcast. He's going to come on to mine. Peter is eventually, when he gets time, he's going to come on to mine as well, or ours really, because we're together with the author spot and he has his. So, as we're in here, when we talk about community, I'm a Louisiana guy. I live in Baton Rouge. I'm actually from the greater New Orleans area in a little city called Marrero. When I went to write my books, I had a couple different reasons for why I was doing it. First of all, I've worked with kids for most of my life. And one of the biggest things that we tried to tackle is getting kids on their reading level. Thanks, Peter. That actually, if you guys can see, Peter actually pulled the book from his large library over there to kind of show everybody the title. Thank you. But I've been trying to get to I've worked with kids all my life, and the biggest thing is trying to get them on to their grade level when it comes to reading. It was actually something we tried to attack a few years ago with the Brothers Keeper program, which was started by President Obama while he was in office. It's a program that we lost maybe in about 2016 when we changed mayors out here. But one thing I noticed is that kids are going to mimic what they see. I created my books. My kids are not children's books. They're actually adult books. But my thought process always was that if my kids saw me reading, they would pick up a book and read because I'm setting the image and the example for them. And it's kind of held true. My two sons like to read. Granted, I can't let them read my book because there's some adult themes and things in there. But I mean, I can show you their closet, their library. It's not quite as vast as Peter's right now, maybe one day, but they do have a pretty good library for two young boys between the ages of 5 and 12. Another thing I wanted to do also, New Orleans, the culture, the area is talked about kind of as a sidebar a lot of the time. It's kind of just kind of mentioned briefly, or if somebody wants to talk about Cajun or just something like that, it's kind of just a cameo in a lot of people's world, right? But to me, it's my reality. It's what I know. And, you know, there's only so many heroes you could have in the city of New York, right? And none of my heroes wear capes. See, my heroes come from the South. And because of that, I wanted to put out a book that talks about that. My hero isn't coming in a cape, but my hero might be maybe an officer and a person from the community who are working together to get things done, especially in an area like New Orleans that at one point was the murder capital of the United States. Nobody in the Cape was coming to save us or to stop these things from happening at all. And so when I created Crescent Moons, it was around the time that we were starting to have some issues between officers in the community. It was just before the Alton Sterling thing happened. We were already having some brush ups and issues, but then with the Alton Sterling matter happened, it just made it go multiple ways, because then there was the two gentlemen in Minnesota, and then there were some other things that happened along the way. So when I created Crescent Moons, which is available on Amazon and is available in ebook form, I was just taking the rest of the story, and I was taking it from the point of view of the officer and the community member who had loved that community, and they were going around trying to stop all the issues, even amongst corrupt police officers, even amongst a government, which people joke all the time about New Orleans, this government being a little dirty, even amongst dealing with that, biker gangs, and just all kind of weird parties, even a little bit about voodoo in there, because it's a part of the culture. No, we don't all walk around and practice it, but we do have stores and areas that are dedicated to it. We have historical sites that are kind of dedicated to voodoo, and people will come there to see some of that, and so that's included as well. Along the way, I was able to create some scenes, because what I describe as a crime adventure thriller story. It's based around crime. There's some adventure in there. It's a thriller, and even though there's a lot of action in there, the story is being carried through a lot of the themes and things that are talked about in there. When you talk about husband-wife relationships, you talk about infidelity, all these things that we normally go through, trust, mistrust, partnerships, things of that nature. That's what I talk about throughout the book and really throughout the entire series. So when I completed Crescent Moons, plenty of satisfied with it. I had a plan to write 3 books. And so the very next one was Mystery in Mactown, which is blurred because I have my thing blurred here, but this one is actually available on Amazon. It's available online at, I was gonna say Goodreads, Barnes and Nobles, any store where books are sold, online, Walmart, Target, it's available there. I continue the story there, but now I tell it from a few more standpoints, because the issues we tried to resolve in book 1 are resolved, but it's a continuing issue dealing with the crime. And now we're dealing with some of the fallout from it. A few deaths happen along the way. We have to try to deal with it because it's a consistent problem. One thing that I always want to be able to do was tell a story from multiple viewpoints, and Mystery in Mactown allowed me to do that. It also allowed me to pay a tribute directly to my hometown, Marrero, in the park that I used to play for when I was growing up, Mac Park, because they changed the name of it before I left there to Johnny Jacobs. And I just wanted to create these stories. You know, we all like to watch these matters. Peter had been pushing me for a little while, and I'm going to get into it too. We all like to watch a lot of things on TV, these series, these abundant stories that just jump out to us. And when I write this, that's the way I write it, something that could be depicted more in a series than a movie, because that's the way I see it. So when I'm writing and I'm describing stuff, I'm really trying to get you to see the scenes and what's going on around you, or what's going on there. I want you to kind of taste the food that I'm talking about in there. I want you to kind of see the scenes and see the buildings and the areas, the streets, as people are going up and around them, the people and what they're wearing, because it's important for me to bring you into the culture for you to understand the gravity of what's going on with it. I'm currently working on the third book right now, in conjunction with doing, the Author Spot podcast, as well as a few other things to try to help some other people getting their books together. Because like I said before, this is especially about community. What I would suggest for any of you is to, if you write one story and you have another one that you want to write it anyway. I was really concerned when I wrote after writing this first book, I was really concerned about writing a second one because people really liked the first one. I was really concerned about whether or not the second one was going to be something not received as well, because it was a little different, along the same storylines, but I'm talking about multiple characters. But a lot of people enjoyed the second one as well. And if you write a second one, write the third one, write as many stories as you have in your heart to write. Very recently, we had a author come on to the podcast, and she spoke about how her third book was the one that got her noticed in, is the one that got picked up. She ended up having two versions of it, because there's a version she wrote originally, and then there's the one that a publisher picked up, and she's been running with it ever since. I mean, and this lady has over 30 something books written now, but it was the third one where she hit it and kept going, and now she's a publisher. Miss Nelena Kai, and just listening to her encourages me to keep going on, because it's like, hey, even though I'm writing these stories and people are enjoying them, you never know which one is going to be the one that gravitates or levitates above the rest and gets everybody's attention. So if you're having your stories, if you're wondering what the next thing is going to be, just continue to write. That story is coming, and it's coming out of you, it's coming through you, and it's coming around you. Just keep going forward with your writing. That story that you're waiting on is going to come through you. It is going to come through you when you least expect it. Just keep going.
Okay, thank you very much, Keelan. Was there anything else you wanted to add, or you coming to a conclusion?
Oh, that was my conclusion, man.
Okay, cool. Well, please tell the listeners again, for people that are listening, the titles of your books and where they can purchase them from.
Yes. So the first book is Crescent Moons, premiering the Crescent Moon Chronicles. That can be found at Amazon, or on Amazon, or on Kindle, because I know they've broken up the platforms a little bit now, but it's in paperback and ebook form. Mystery in Mactown, as Peter's showing again.
You know what? Did I actually call you Peter instead of Keelan? I just realized, did I just call you Peter then instead of Keelan?
No. Peter's showing. No.
Okay,
No. I'm looking at Peter. No, I'm looking at Peter. And then Mystery in Mactown is on Amazon. It's Walmart, Books A Million. It's online everywhere that books are sold. Also, it comes in ebook form, platform, for if anybody prefers to read it on an e-reader. So I also leave my website down here in case you want to get it from me. I do signed and autographed copies that I mail out probably every Monday for my mailbox Mondays. So.
Okay, thank you very much, Katie Robinson. It's great to have you back on the Black Book Show. I look forward to coming onto your podcast and you obviously coming onto mine. And, this is what we do, collaboration, me, myself, the Black Book Show, Katie Robinson's podcast with, the likes of Peter. We all have our own platforms, but we all, we don't work in isolation. We all collaborate and, we work together, and we're based in different countries. So, tell us a little bit more about your podcast as well, in case people want to feature on it.
Oh, yes. The Author Spot podcast, in fact, we have the website, because the Author Spot is kind of a place for authors. I mean, they do book reviews there. Actually, Peter's one of the reviewers with the Author Spot podcast, the Author Spot with reviews. That's how I became in contact with Peter, through them. They also do kind of consultations They do ads. If you guys want to do like different things on Facebook, you want to do ads, you're not quite sure how to do it on your own, you can go through the author spot and they kind of help you with that. And of course, there's the part that I love the most is hosting and doing the podcast. And when you come on, my thing is to answer 2 questions for you and anybody who's going to view your show, because it's available on Spotify. It's available on all podcast streaming platforms. 2 questions that I'm aiming to answer when you come on is, what is the book about? And what is the author about? And I take the second one more importantly than the first. Because in order for people to buy into you, in order for people to buy your books, they have to buy into you. And therefore, the Author Spot podcast.
Okay, Author Spot. So if you put your details in the Zoom chat, so you know, people, if they're interested in purchasing a copy of their book, they can do that. Also, you know, if they're interested in featuring your podcast, they can also reach out to you, you know, whether by email or your social media links. And yes, pleasure having you on the Black Book Show again. Right, let me go on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Vanita. So Vanita, welcome onto the Black Book Show for your first time. Please start by telling us where you're based, a brief introduction about yourself, and then tell us all about the book you've written. Vanita, oh, I can see you. Do you know what? You're on mute at the moment.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's better.
Hi everyone. I want to thank you, Makonnen, for having me on the show and for this platform. I really appreciate this opportunity to speak about my book and get more eyes on it. So my name is Vanita McCullough, and I'm a children's author. This is my first book. I'm based in London, first of all, in North London. And this is my first book, and it's a children's book, and it's called Ask Your Belly Button. I don't know if it's the right way around, but it's called Ask Your Belly Button. And the idea of this book came about when I was studying counselling. I studied counselling for a little while, and the first part to counselling is learning about self-awareness. You have to know about yourself. So while I was learning the self-awareness, I was learning about my childhood and how my childhood experiences play a role in my adulthood. And that got me thinking about if I was taught self-awareness as a child, how it made me think about how my life might have been right now, and how my relationships would be with myself, how my relationship would be with others. And it made me think about my mindset. And I just thought, imagine if I could get this out to children and help them to understand themselves, build relationship with themselves. So then they can build healthy relationships with others and have healthy mindsets. And So I thought about that, and then I thought, then a little while later, I came up with a phrase, somebody asked me where their belongings were, and I was like, I don't know. I really don't know where you put your belongings. Ask your belly button. And I thought that could be a children's book. So I started writing, I had the title, I started writing straight away. And I came up with, I then went through the author process of finding
A publisher.
Publisher, who then introduced me to an illustrator, and then the publisher worked with me throughout the book, and we got it published. It came out in July, so it's not even been out a year, and this book is about intuition. It's about intuition. So it's my first book in trying to help children build self-awareness with themselves. So it's about intuition. And what I want children to understand is that answers are not always outside of you. And even for us adults, we tend to look in these silly places for these answers. Like we tend to look at material stuff for these answers that we're just not going to find. And I really wanted to exaggerate, like how I want to show you, like some illustrations. I really wanted to exaggerate the idea that I had of people looking in silly places. So Michael and Michaela are getting ready for the park, and I don't know if everyone can see. They're getting ready for the park, and Michaela's lost her shoes. So Michael's enthusiastic, and he says, he encourages her. He tries to keep her spirits high by saying, oh, we're going to find the shoes. So they go on a wild hunt around the house, and they look in silly places like the oven and the empty cereal boxes in search of these shoes, and we're just not going to find them in the oven or in cereal boxes. And like I said before, we adults, we tend to look in silly places for these answers we're not going to find. And children, I believe they're closer to their creative mind, and they are more likely to experiment with their ideas and their thoughts. And then as they grow through life, we tend to move away from that because we think, oh, what if this person doesn't like it? Or what if that person doesn't like it? And then we try and stay safe, and then we lose ourselves in the process. So I want to help children with intuition, help them learn about intuition, and try and keep them on that path of knowing themselves and knowing their own mind. I've used the belly button for like a visual for children to focus on. Yeah, but yeah, I want to show you some of the illustrations. I won't show you the end. I just want to show you some illustrations. I think there's the mom, and like I showed you before, they're looking in the oven, looking in the cupboard. And yeah, I'll just read the blurb so you get an idea. Belly button's not everything. They know what you've been up to, and they know where you've left things. Brother and sister Michael and Michaela are on the hunt. They want to go to the park, but Michaela has lost her shoes. They've searched all over, and they still cannot find them. But there is one place they still need to look. Could Michaela's shoes be in the fridge, or are they amongst the spiders? Michael is enthusiastic, but is that enough to help Michaela find her shoes? Will they ever go to the park? And what do belly buttons know anyway? Yeah, so yeah, like I said, the belly button is that behind the solar plexus, and yeah, like it's the gut feeling basically. And I use belly button because, like, if you say to children, what is your gut feeling saying? Or what is your intuition saying? They'll probably be like, what does that mean? And it's just a playful way for them to look at themselves and begin to trust themselves and believe in themselves so they can stay closer to the authenticity. Yeah, that's my book. My book is available on my website, which is askyourbellybutton.com. And it will take you to a link where my publisher her name is Daniela Bleckner. She's the owner of Conscious Dreams Publishing, and she published my book. She helped me to get it published, and she just recently opened up a bookshop for her authors. So the link will take you to her shop, and then that helps her out as well as an independent publisher. The book is also available. It is available on Amazon for those that like to order from Amazon. And for those that like to go to a physical bookshop, it's available in Finsbury Park in North London, a black bookshop called New Beacon Books. And the address is 76 Stroud Green Road, Finsbury Park, London, N4 3EN. And that's for those who like to go to the shop and feel the book and flick through it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. That's Vanita, another great speech. Sounds like an amazing book. Please put the details of where people can purchase a copy of your book in the Zoom chat. And if you want to share any of your social media, handles or email address, also feel free to do that as well. What I will do now is I'll go on to the next speaker. Our next speaker is Adeola. Adeola, please can you join us? Welcome to the Black Book Show for the first time. Adeola is an author that was being introduced to by Tolu A. Akinyemi, Tolu from the Roaring Lion of Newcastle. If Tolu's listening, I just want to say a big shout out to Tolu. Tolu is one of the sponsors of the Black Book Show, along with other organizations such as Education for All Now, Nubian Nigist Books, the Jimmy Asher Foundation, and other individuals such as Bharti Dhir and others. If I've left you out, it's not intentionally, but I'm just going to go on to Adeola. Adeola, if you would please like to come on and tell us, first of all, tell us where you're based, a brief summary about you, and then go on to tell us all about your book.
Okay, thank you, and good evening, everyone. I'm in Nigeria, but always presently living in the United Kingdom. I'm a poet. I'm in Oxford, United Kingdom. I'm a poet and non-fiction writer. I also work full time as a ghostwriter. The book I'm going to be presenting today is titled Ellipsis, and it is a poetry collection. Ellipsis is just about my experience as a human being. I've always believed that as human beings, we are a tripartite being, right? We have a spirit, we have a soul, and we also have a body. And I've always believed in the full expressions of ourselves as a tripartite being, that we should indulge in the pleasures of the flesh, while also exploring our spirituality and be sensitive to our emotions, our soul, or how I call it, the inner world. So in the light of that, Ellipsis, my poetry collection, is divided into 3 parts. The first part dealt with the emotions. There are a collection of poems that talk about love, that talk about memories of loved ones as well. The second part dealt with spirituality, which basically sums up my relationship with God, my relationship with my spiritual self, my relationship with the infinite nature of the universe. And the third part of the poem deals with my mental state as a human being, how I relate to the political realm, how I relate to the economic realm as well. So in light of that, I would like to read some of the poems in Ellipsis for you. And the first poem I'll be reading, I don't have the physical copy with me. I just moved to Oxford some days ago, so I'm still arranging. So I'll be reading from the soft copy on my laptop. So the first poem I'll be reading is for Amudalat Mokpeladi. A brief introduction to this poem. This poem is written in the memory of my grandmother, of my late grandmother. Like I said, we are a tripartite being, and part of our soul is our mind or our memories, which deals with storing information about our experiences, about our lived life, and also about what is to come. So this poem was about my grandmother. The title is for Amudalat Mupeladi, which was her name. She's late now. In my dreams, you come as fireflies, colonies of light floating away like a lost kite in the sky. And the more I reach to you, the more this distance between us stretches. Colleges of archipelagos rise between us, and I can't cross to you. These paradoxes, I'm losing my mind. I am a car speeding off on a highway, and you are a receding picture in my rear view. But you are so with me, Amudalat. Your presence is a statement of fact. So the poem basically talks about how our ancestors or people, our loved ones who are gone, how they have not really left us. Even though we can't see them physically, I believe that they are here with us in that immaterial form. So this poem is just reestablishing the fact that though my grandmother was dead, she's still with me at this moment. The second poem is titled For We Would Dread Love. In love is sometimes the distance between sanity and madness, between being whole or being broken. While we treat love like roses grown amidst thorns and tread its path gently like the flop of butterfly wings. But broken things can be beautiful too, like the broken mirrors that glitter whenever the sun shower kisses on them. We who dread love are not to blame. Wasn't death wrapped in a kiss and gifted to Christ? In this poem, I was talking about the double-edged nature of love. Our love can be something that heals us, or it also can be something that alters as well. Hence the oxymoron at the end of the poem. We talk about we would dread love being not to blame, because love was packaged in a kiss for Christ, but it was a kiss that betrayed him. I'll be reading from my last poem here, which is a poem, like I said, the book is divided into 3 parts, one about the soul, the spirit, and the flesh. So the title of this poem it's actually a song. I titled it Song 001. And I read, your word is a mirror, and before it, I stand juxtaposing myself. The impurities of my heart unveiled before me. Lust of all shades battle to darken my heart. But I turn my heart to the east and open its blinds, flood me with light. In the wake of dawn, I unclad myself before you like a bride before her groom. Wash me with the water of your word and robe me with your righteousness. How shall a young man cleanse his way? Say your word is a treasure I found in a field. I hid it in my heart like a rose amidst thorns. Spread, rose, spread over this garden, fill it with beautiful fragrance that my lover might make it his home. So those are the 3 poems I'll be reading from Ellipsis. And Ellipsis is available on Amazon Bookstore, both as a hard copy and in Kindle form as well. Thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you very much, Adeola. Please leave the links to where those books can be purchased, as you mentioned. You know, put the link in the Zoom chat, along with any social media handles, or your email if you wish to do that. Right. I'm now going to introduce our next author onto the Black Book Show. Our next author is Peter Okonkwo. So, Peter, you know, welcome back again onto the Black Book Show. You've been on the virtual book tour twice. As I mentioned earlier before the start of the show, I mean, the Black Book virtual book tour, it is recorded. The video does get put up on Pete English Literature YouTube channel. Peter is the person who, the creator of that YouTube channel, Pete English Literature. And yeah, if you go on his YouTube channel, you'll see you can access, episodes of past Black Book shows. And he even interviewed me as well. In fact, I'm actually going to just share my screen before I introduce him on. So you should be able to see my screen now, which is in the Black Book Show Facebook group. If you haven't joined the Black Book Show Facebook group, please join. If you just simply type the Black Book Show on Facebook, it will come up, and then you can join the Black Book Show Facebook group. This is where all the latest information about the upcoming events, whether it's the virtual book tours or indeed my radio shows and podcasts, all of this information is there. You can also subscribe to P English Literature YouTube channel, which is founded by and run by Peter, who's going to be speaking next. He has 5,000 subscribers, and he's interviewed me. I remember it was about a 3-hour interview. We talked about on a variety of different topics. I'm an author myself. I've written The Rise of Rastafari, Resistance, Redemption, and Repatriation, Life in Gambia, the Smiling Coast of Africa, and my latest book, How to Market and Sell Your Book, A Guide for Beginners. I've got 2 of the books with me. I think The Rise of Rastafari, I've all my copies on me, I've sold out, but How to Market and Sell Your Book and Life in Gambia. So if you go on the YouTube channel, you'll be able to see some of the, what he's done. He's broken down some of the interviews that he's done with me. So there's the complete episode, which you can watch, the complete conversation, which is 2 hours and 54 minutes. But if you would like to, watch some of the sections, you can. There's a part of me talking about my first debut book, The Rise of Rastafari, which I released at Auntie Jean's African Culture Market. Then you have other subjects I talk about, like my second book, Life in Gambia. You can see from the titles there, on racism, the transatlantic slave trade, Africa's colonization, and Pan-Africanism. And you can also go on that YouTube channel to check out the videos of the Black Book Show. As you can see, it's got the different shows from March, February, January, all the way going back to August 2022, since we started the partnership. And on that YouTube channel as well, you can see, authors that he's interviewed as well on the platform. So, Peter, I would like to welcome you now onto the Black Book Show. Please start, by telling us where you're based, and then giving a brief introduction about yourself, and then tell us, all about, the books you've written, and you can talk a bit about your YouTube channel if you wish to do that as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Makonnen. I really appreciate you, and I hope you can hear me loud and clear.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you. So my name is Peter Okonkwo. I'm an author of 6 poetry books, and I'm the host of the, as Makonnen has just said, the P English Literature YouTube channel, where I review books and conduct interviews with authors around the world. And of course, I've had quite a lot of authors on the show, including Keelan Robinson and Makonnen Sankofa himself. And yeah, I'd love to talk about one of my books. Currently, I have 2 copies of different ones here with me. This is Fate, the Dungeon of Doom. This is my second published book. And there's a third one that I published. I love writing on the theme of philosophy. I love writing on deep issues and things relating to humanity and stuff like that. So my first book, Excited Ecstasy of the Dead, it's an anthology of poetry that is centered on quite a lot of other themes about humanity, about pains, about hard times and all of that. Then here in Fate, the Dungeon of Doom, I talked about the reconnection that fate has to do with human life. It's actually a book of, I would love to call it a book of contemplation, books of questions, because I was trying to lay balance about the difference between fate and destiny, to know if we human beings have control over our own fate or we do not, to know if fate is a making of ourselves or an anonymous destination, and quite a lot of other things. Then in Whose Fault, Kismet and Payment, this actually is divided into 3 sections. The first part is the Poems of Fate, and the second book, the second part is the Poems of Kohame, which is a story of a young Nigerian man gone missing and the aftermath of his disappearance and his family members and his mother and his siblings and stuff like that. I'm also currently working on a complete version of the Poems of Kohame, which will be coming up by July. That's during my when I'm celebrating my birthday. And the third part of the book contains other poems, other different poems entirely. Then yeah, in whose fault, kismet or impediment, I love thinking, I love asking quite a lot of questions as a human being. Here is a sort of a book that I wrote, trying to lay balance and trying to know the sort of connection that exists between human fate and obstacles. So this was written on the perception of a terrible narrator who keep asking questions about his identity, trying to know if the obstacle that he's currently experiences are part of his fate, a making of God, or they are inspired by evil forces. So here, I love thinking, and I was kind of asking questions, trying to demystify the sort of connection, the sort of realness that exists between human fate and obstacles. And for every human being who has lived on earth, everyone basically might have probably experienced obstacles in one way or the other in their life. So the discretion of which to be able to navigate through it sometimes can be very sad and can differ from one person to another. So basically my book's actually centered on human condition, human issues. And the other one that I don't have copies there with me, it's titled The Escape from the Unseen Dungeons book series. The first book was A Cry for Mercy, and I'm so excited that this particular book is kind of receiving quite a lot of recognition and people really love it. I don't have copies of it here with me. I'd love to show it to the camera. A Cry for Mercy is more like a book of lamentation and plea, of the narrator pleading, asking questions about his identity, trying to know why some things are happening in his life that he has no control over. And actually, it's a spiritual book as well. There I talk about the relationship that exists between the spiritual realm and the physical realm, trying to live balance and lamentation and quite a lot of other things actually that are centered on the human condition. I love writing about the human issue. I love writing about the hard things of life, about the difficult situations of life. And I've had quite a lot of people say, well, the book's actually quite very great. And yeah, I have another version of it also, because it's also divided into 3 sections. Of the first part, A Cry for Mercy, and the second book, The Demon Slave, and the third book, I Saw the Light. So that makes it a total of 6 books, which of course I'm still working on more books as the thing keep coming to my head, as I keep receiving the inspiration, I keep penning them down. So that's briefly about my books. So far, Ecstasy of the Dead was published 2020. Then Fate in the Dungeon of Doom was published 2021. This also was published 2021. Then A Cry for Mercy was published last year, 2022. Then I had the second series, How the Demon Slave, was published recently, I think 2 months ago this year, and I saw the light as well. So that's about my writing journey. I'm a poet, I'm a Nigerian, currently based in Nigeria, Akure, one of the southwestern city in Nigeria. And yeah, I would also love to talk about my YouTube channel, P English Literature, that's Makonnen Sankofa actually showed earlier on. On P English Literature, I offer book reviews and conduct interviews with authors around the world. It's a platform that I founded 3 years ago after I've seen and noticed that we indie authors, because I'm actually an indie author, and I've realized that quite a lot of people, indie authors, struggle with marketing, with visibility, and there are not much marketing platform for us to promote our works. And so I came up with the idea of setting up English Literature just to review books, particularly by independent published author. But for so far, since the channel have been growing and developing, I've had traditional published books featured on the show. I've had famous authors on the show. I've had quite a lot of amazing people who are not indies on the show. But then I'm still open to receiving books by independent published author. And as you can see in my background, the bookshelf, most of those books are sent to me by the authors from different parts of the world. And I also have that of Keelan Robinson. I particularly choose this because Keelan is on the show, just to show. I have this. Then I have also other books by Makonnen Sankofa himself. I have this, I've read this, Live in Gambia, The Smiling Coast of Africa, and The Rise of Rastafari, which I also invited Makonnen on the show to talk about that. I've also read Keelan Robinson, Crescent Moon. It's a great crime thriller novel. I really love it. And quite a lot of other books, actually. Most of the ones I have on my shelf. 80% of them I've read them and I've reviewed them on the channel. And if you are over there, you love me to review your book, you can reach out to me directly on my social media handle, Peter Okonkwo. If you just type Peter Okonkwo on Facebook, on Instagram, on anywhere, you would see me. I'm all over the internet. You'll see me there, and also for interviews with authors. So on English literature, I particularly created a channel dedicated actually for the reviews of books by indie authors and authors that are traditionally published, just so I can keep spreading the news about authors who are not yet known. Because actually I've seen very well that there are quite a lot of indie books that are very great. I've read actually quite a lot of amazing indie books. I'm like, oh my God, this book deserves an award. That's amazing. That's powerfully written. And but then those books are not in the market because of the marketing strategy, because nobody actually know about them. And it's just there languishing in silence. Nobody gets to hear about it. Whereas there's an amazing book over there. So that's one of the reasons I actually came up with English literature. And so far, the books that I've read, they're amazing fantasy novels, memoirs, autobiographies, fiction and non-fictions, great books over there, poetry, a lot of that. And I'm the kind of person I'm very receptive to every genre of literature. I love reading vastly every genre, covering every genre so far. So if you would love to have your book featured on English literature, you can reach out to me. My email actually, it's penglishLiterature@gmail.com, penglishLiterature@gmail.com. And I wouldn't know if I'm still having much time to speak, or my 15 minutes is over, because I'm very time conscious when it's
No, you're fine. You've taken 8 minutes, so you've got like another 7, yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I have 7 more minutes. So yeah, on the show, that's what I offer basically. And so far, I've had quite a lot of people on the show, different people from different parts of the world, from the UK, from the US, from Africa, Asia, and in part of Europe as well. So it's quite amazing, and it's something great. It's very great to support fellow authors, how to read their books, to have them featured in an interview. And it's actually something I really consider very great when it comes to lay in monument, because those are videos that tend to stay on the internet forever. I've had some staying for like 9 years and 10 years. You can go back to it and say, oh wow, it's an interview I conducted many years ago with this person, and it's still live and vibrant and doing wonderfully well on the channel. Yeah, so basically English literature was set up with aim actually to promote indie books, to promote literature among different genres, and to reach out to quite a lot of people and make sure everything is going on. And yeah, with regards to my book, the only copies I have is Fate in the Dungeon of Doom. It's a poetry anthology. If I'm the type that love reading books that are quite philosophical, I'm a philosopher, but if you like reading books that are philosophical, it has to do with the theme of humanity, it has to do with the theme of life, of pain, of suffering, of lamentation, of questions of realization, would love to pick up some of my books, I'd say. Yeah. So yeah, I have Usfort, Kismet Impediment. Like I said, it's a book that I wrote trying to demystify the sort of realness that exists between human fate and obstacles. And yeah, I have quite a lot of other books actually that I love. I love reading. I so much love reading, and I'm very passionate about literature. That's actually one of the reasons why I feel English literature is doing very great. And thanks for the collaboration also with the Black Book Show, hosted by Makonnen Sankofa, and the author support, just like K.E. Robinson has mentioned. And also have collaboration with the Alliance of Independent Published Authors, or the ALLI, the Alliance of Independent Authors. Also have one with the Canadian Live and Book Show by, what's it called? Gabriel Ndaisimi, it keeps my mind. So this is a kind of way with which we kind of collaborate, trying to promote literature across genres, across borders, and to spread the news about books, spread the news about reading, spread the news about authors who are just coming up gradually, and to be of great impact to the world of literature to the works of books and things having to do with literature generally. Yeah, so that's what I would love to say about my book so far. I'm an independent published author of 6 books. I'm a literature enthusiast. I'm a literary critic. I'm the host and founder of the P English Literature YouTube channel, where I review books and conduct interviews with authors around the world. I'm a spiritual philosopher. I'm a fatalist. And yeah, thank you so much, Makonnen, for having me on your fabulous show. I feel so honored, and I'm so happy to be here to see quite a lot of beautiful and handsome faces, great people from different parts of the world. I'm saying hello to everybody, and I'm saying thank you so much for having me on your show. I do appreciate everyone. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter. Great to have you on the Black Book Show again. Please put your links in the Zoom chat. Can you just mention again the titles of your books, where they can be purchased and where they can be purchased from?
Yes, my books are available on Amazon, amazon.com, amazon.co.uk, Amazon Canada, Australia, everywhere Amazon. And if you go on Amazon and type Peter Okonkwo, all my books will come up. I have 6 titles there. Everything will come up. And yeah, this is the second one. I only have 2 copies here with me. The other ones are sold out, so I have to place some more orders. And yeah, if you would love to get featured on the show, you can email me at English. I'm gonna leave it in the chat box. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it in the chat box.
Okay, and the YouTube channel that they can subscribe to, please tell them again the name of that YouTube channel.
Yeah, the name of my YouTube channel is P English Literature. The P there actually stands for Peter, because I was just thinking of what name to give it. Yeah, P English Literature. If you go on YouTube and type P English Literature, all our videos is coming up. We currently have 210 videos, and yeah, we've been up for 3 years now. So you can, if you type English Literature, I'll be very excited if you can subscribe to the channel. It would mean a lot to me. I'm also gonna leave a link to that in the chat box.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter, for coming on the show. We're going to go now to our next author. Our next author is Ayana. Ayana, could you please start by telling us where you're joining us from, and then give us a brief introduction about who you are, and then tell us all about the book that you've written.
Okay, great. All right. My name is Ayana Lewis. I stem from the island of Jamaica. I am an author. I'm also a small business owner where I create handmade. I'm also the author of this book I call Ghettopian Consciousness. It may not show because of my blur, but basically, Ghettopian Consciousness is a collection of poetry that I've put together starting while I was in university. I call this book Journey because it really was a journey, you know, putting all the poetry pieces together, inviting individuals to collab, you know, and to review individuals who are, you know, outside of Jamaica and inside of Jamaica. Yeah, so I call it a journey because, you know, writing this publication, you know, it was really hard in the sense that I didn't know how it would relate to my community, given the fact that, you know, it had an African-centered consciousness that wasn't so, you know, welcome, you know, where I grew up, you know, and that for me was a challenge. When I say Ghettopian consciousness, a lot of people want to know exactly what do I mean. You know, this is me, you know, as an individual, growing up in certain settings, experiencing a way of life, a way of doing things, and striking conscious awareness in the sense of becoming a sovereign learner, where I was able to, read and learn about my history and my ancestry. Special emphasis on a Black bookstore in Jamaica they call iNation Books, where I was given my first 5 books and, started developing the appetite of reading and research. And that's where the consciousness comes in, and self-awareness, about my being and just being a woman in this setting they want to classify as a ghetto. So basically, Ethiopian consciousness was formed, through this basis of, even reggae music artists and poets that are, within Jamaica itself. And, just feeding from these avenues and, doing further work on myself when it comes on to, the healing and the restoration, and even stems down to eating habits. And these were things that were discussed in previous presentations, the exercises, and the yoga and all of that. So I have a few individuals on here that I asked to join because they wanted to know more about the book. I'm just going to share this piece. It's an opening piece. It's titled, Welcome to the Ghetto. Welcome to Ghettopian Consciousness. It is a mentality that confiscates tranquility. Yet it is a place wherein many superstars that are born, like Bob Marley, Trenchstone Rock, like pressure applied to diamonds. So many conquer their rivals to meet the dawn of a new way of life wherein consciousness is a concern, an awareness of both the enemy and the savior, a call to act upon what is to be known as truths and rights. Like a rude awakening, a new level of consciousness appears on the scene. I feature a few African amulets specific from the Adinkra symbols. The Sankofa, I will mention, is one of those symbols that, shape the journey for this book to come to fruition. Using the Sankofa while I was in university, even outside of university, it was a way of gaining information and access to my family lineage, to my African ancestry, and just learning about, individuals that I've mentioned throughout the book, like Cheonti Diop, who is an anthropologist, Marcus Garvey, Leonard Howell, individuals like, I've mentioned a few ancestors. I may not be able to remember right now, but I mentioned a few ancestors that have guided me throughout this journey of putting this publication together. I remember reading this speech that was done by Malcolm X, where he was talking about the conscious awareness of women, within the nation. And he was talking about how when a woman is educated, and when a woman is being educated, she's able to bring forward consciousness of the nation, versus when a woman is not being educated. And reflecting on all of that, I remember growing up. I grew up in a surrounding where there were a lot of women, and that in itself kind of shy away the masculine or the male figure within the community and within the home. So, I've even written pieces, talking about the woman. I have pieces like, as a woman in the ghetto, the Black Heart Warrior, the Black woman and how woman rule I town, these pieces were just, looking at the women within the community and their duty, despite not being so conscious of, their African identity, but, stepping forward and, putting the incentives in the children and all of that. And just, speaking on how, we may need more appearance of the men within the community. And not falling short of that, I did mention, other writings that support the masculine, element, and talking about the balance that should exist between both men and women, in a time where we have to deal with feminism and, that contrast between men doing this, women doing this. And this is all over social media, even at this time with, the Black man not wanting to date Black woman and all of that notion. If you're aware and you're in that space online, you'll know what I'm talking about. So here is Ghettopian consciousness saying that, hey, it's a balance. It's a man and woman and child that, bring forward the evolution. And even in this time, African community where our families have been broken, through that period of slavery, and it's so hard to build back, that genealogy of family and, that bond that should exist between the man and the woman, and I even dedicate this point that I titled, my man is my balance. I give a little of him and he gives a little of me, and that's how we bring forward, the generation. And not just saying that in itself, but, us being aware of who we are as a people in this time, not just as conscious human beings, but within this time when we have to deal with that racial subject. I think it's time that we basically just face up to it and really just learn about who we are and the space that we exist in and what our roles and responsibilities so we can move the community forward. So these are just some, pointers that I talk about in Ghettopian consciousness. I talk about the street vendors that exist in my community. People that are on the street selling, they have to deal with the municipal police, them not being on the road and stuff like that. I talk about these individuals. I talk about the people that are in the marketplaces. I address points to the politicians, where I'm asking, how are we supposed to pay off these student loan debts? What about the people that gave you power? So I find this collection to be very liberating and powerful in this time when we are trying to, make sense of our identity and try to strengthen the African community as this platform where, us as authors come together and we're sharing our pieces and we're sharing our work, and we're building each other. And that is what we're here for. And that is what Ghettopian consciousness is here for. It's not just a basis where, oh, you're rural or you're urban. We're all in this together, as a community and as a people. And that's what Ghettopian consciousness basically stands for. I also speak on, notions like nature. Marcus Garvey mentioned that we have lost our gentle touch of nature. And in this time, I even have a poem that I dedicate, I call it Gone Are the Times. When children used to play and they used to go outside and they used to interact. These days, it's been limited. Children are more prone to be on their tablets, they're inside, they don't want to go anywhere. And, that causes them to not be so grounded in nature and being outside in the natural habitat where they were created to be in. So I talk about, information such as, the sun and the importance of the sun, and even something that affects Jamaica, like skin bleaching. I have a poem that I dedicate, I call it Melanin. I'm talking about the skin bleaching that's happening in Jamaica right now, where people are bleaching their skin because they want to look a certain way and to behave a certain way so it can match up, to our colonizers, or however we may put it. But for me, Ghettopian consciousness, I would want to see it in more communities, where youths are being open and, willing and ready to learn from this material and, go out there and make best of themselves and grow and create businesses, you know, within the community, because even that in itself, mentioning the vendors on the road, you know, them not getting that support to have access to buildings, to proper facilitate their products and services. And even I within myself having experience with that. So it's a cry, you know, and it's also like just an awareness of what's happening in this time, you know, and I couldn't put it any other else way, but just to say that I am really appreciative of all the individuals that encouraged me to finish. As my dear friend that I met in university and many other youths, as Kenny Huntley, he has a book out called Black and Blue. My editor, Hannah Lee Henchman, she has a book out as well. It's called A Thread of Hope, Enlightenment for the Soul. I have a friend name is Maverick. He has The Mind Hacker, Quaid Thompson, who is Poetic Justice. And these are all youths, you know, that I've gone university with, and some may not be in university, but they are youths who are actually taking a stance through words, you know, through poetic words and through writing, you know, and changing their reality and making a difference through writing. And even ones who are here who have previously present their work, we're all trying to create a space where authors, you know, are being seen and recognized, and their work are being appreciated and seen, where we are actually
Ayana,
doing
you got 2 minutes left.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so I'm basically through. I really want to thank everyone for, you know, taking the time out to listen. And I'm really grateful for Sankofa for inviting me on this platform. I really hope to, you know, venture more into all the authors that were previously mentioned and did their work, and we can basically, you know, bond and move forward with our writing and our journey. Thank you so much for having me, and have a blessed afternoon.
Thank you very much, Ayana, and joining us from Jamaica. You know, before you go, can you please tell us again the title of your book and where it can be purchased from?
Okay, the title of my book is Ghettopian Consciousness, Volume 1. It's available on Amazon currently at this time. You can also reach me through my email. I'm going to share the information through my link. You can find me on Instagram as well at Ayana_IA, which is AYANA_IYE. So that's my Instagram link. My Instagram business page is IA Beads, which is IA Beads and Things. That's AYEBEAD_things, THINGS.
Thank you very much, Ayana. Another great speech. You've had some amazing authors, as always, you know, on the Black Book Show. If you would like to feature on the Black Book Show to promote your book, please get in contact with me, Makonnen Sankofa. Email me, send me an email, info@blackbookshows.com, info@blackbookshows.com. I did put it in the chat a moment ago, but I'm going to put it in there again. So please reach out to me. You can also go on the website, blackbookshows.com. If you go on the website, blackbookshows.com, there's a part where you can select contact us, and then you can fill in the contact form, and I will receive that notification, and then I will be in touch with you. Right, the next speaker on the Black Book Show is Bharti Dhir. So Bharti, if you would like to come on, Bharti, you've got 10 minutes. You don't have to, we spoke earlier, you don't have to utilize the whole 10 minutes if you don't want to. We're doing okay for time. But if you'd like to come on and tell us where you're based, just briefly about yourself, and then tell us about your book called Worth. Oh, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now? Okay, brilliant. Hi, thank you very much, Makonnen, for that introduction. My name is Bharti Dhir, and I actually live in Reading in the UK. I am the author of this book called Worth. And essentially, it's a story about it's my memoir. It's about my story of being of dual heritage, part African, part Asian, and being adopted into an Asian family. And it's about my navigation, I guess, through life, talking from a child's perspective about the growing awareness of colorism, you know, not being considered fair enough and not beautiful enough, of racism, you know, being part African, and what the community's messages were regarding, you know, my dual heritage. It's also about disabilism, because when I was a teenager, I developed a skin condition called lupus, and you know, sort of the negativity around that, and how I navigated sort of the whole sexism concept. You know, people saying to my parents, "Why are you adopting a girl? A girl is a burden and not necessarily a welcome, a very welcome addition to a family in some of the Asian community." So all those sort of messages about colorism, racism, the various sorts of discrimination, and navigating my life as a child, as a teenager, and then a woman, through all that sort of, through the experiences. So the reason I've called my book Worth, and again, I'll just show you the cover, is because it talks essentially about experiences that bring up your sense of worth and bring down your sense of worth. And I hope that it will empower people to think about not just the impact of the messages they give consciously and unconsciously to children and how it affects their self-worth, but also people to think about the impact of discrimination generally, and, you know, really reflect upon themselves. So in both the Asian and African community, there is a lot of colorism, as the previous writer Ayana was saying. People who want to bleach their skins to look a certain color, etc. And we may consider ourselves to be very passionate about equality and be very passionate in anti-discriminatory practice or the way we think about people, but within our own communities, and that's what I'm challenging, we have our own forms of discrimination and prejudice. And it's about actually becoming aware of that and aware of the messages we give our children and aware of how we discriminate and are prejudiced. So I'm just going to read a little extract from my book, Worth. So I believe we all have a sense of worth inside us. And that sense of worth is the one that shouts out, why me? Why am I being dealt this hand? Why is life so unfair? Why am I the one who has to experience this pain? Worth isn't the negative voice that tells you you're worthless. Worth starts the very moment you start questioning, and it rises when you turn that question into a statement. This isn't right. I shouldn't be feeling this pain. I shouldn't be treated like this. I don't want to feel like this anymore. I don't want to be anxious. I don't want to be depressed. Worth rises between the question and the statement. A question may well feel helpless. Why me? But it can also ignite resistance. I don't accept this situation. I won't put up with this treatment. A better question would be to ask what you want instead, putting it into a positive light. When you acknowledge your resistance, you create change. You change the way you're seeing yourself, not as a victim now, but as a warrior who knows their worth. So whether it's an illness, whether it's the way you're being treated, or it's something that's happened, Your sense of worth is the voice that says, no, that's not me. This is unfair. Listen to that voice because it will spur you into action to protect yourself, to stand firm and to grow strong. For before you can act against the negative situation or words, you need to rise up and say to the other person that they have no right to speak about you or to you in this way. It's this realization that causes you to act and become stronger. Worth always feels alive. It's not a memory or a habitual thought form, like negative thoughts that swim around your head sometimes. It's not something that's static. It's a movable achievement. Worth comes into your heart and tells you that you're better than this. You're always good enough. So that was sort of towards the end when I started to realize that I was worthy, I am equal, I'm a strong Black woman, and I have a right to feel that I belong in this world and should be in this world. And I just hope that my memoir will inspire others who are going through negative experiences to actually feel that they can get out of that situation. They can get out of that period of darkness. They can get out of any negativity they may feel about themselves or people around them, and they can do it. We've all got a sense of worth inside us. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Makonnen.
Thank you very much, Bharti Dhir. Worth, a very powerful book. I actually bought a copy of the book for my mum. I think it was last year, a couple of years ago now, for her birthday. So yeah, and she said it's a great book. So I've left a review on Amazon. So yeah, please do support Bharti Dhir. Get a copy of Worth. Bharti is one of the sponsors of the Black Book Show as well, alongside, you know, Tolu Akanyemi from the Royal Nine of Newcastle, Jimmy Asher Foundation, Sister Lejet, Dr. Tamara Foley. If you would like to, you know, sponsor the Black Book Show to promote your book or your book-related services, or your Black business owner that would like to, you know, promote your service or your business, please get in touch. You can get in touch with me at info@blackbookshows.com. That is info@blackbookshows.com. Or alternatively, you can go on the website. If you go on the website, blackbookshows.com, then there's actually a part where you can select contact us. And this applies to if you're your author or your business owner, or you want to sponsor, whatever your inquiry is in this contact form, and then submit, and then I will get that email, and I will then be able to take it from there. Please do check out the website, www.blackbookshows.com. On the website, you can watch editions of past shows from the Black Book Show on demand. So all of these videos are linked to Pete English Literature YouTube channel. So if you go on it here, you can either watch it on the site, but whilst it's being on the site, it's being watched on the Pete English Literature YouTube channel, and it will take you there. So do subscribe to Peter's YouTube channel. He has got 5,000 subscribers, but you can check out all the videos here or directly through YouTube. And then also the radio show, I'm a radio presenter. I present on Luton Urban Radio every other Monday and Galaxy Radio every other Saturday. The Black Books Radio Show, that's why I interview authors. I do more in-depth interviews on this platform. You know, the variety of authors, they talk about 15 minutes or 10 minutes. With the interviews, that's when I do an in-depth interview with the author. And then that goes on to Luton Urban Radio and Galaxy Radio. The best place to be kept up to date about when the radio shows are going on and happening is the Black Book Show Facebook group. So if you join the Black Book Show Facebook group by just putting in the Black Book Show, whenever my radio shows or virtual book tours or other things are happening, you will be able to be notified. If you do want to watch previous editions, you know, some of the authors that have featured on the Black Book Show, you can go on the website, you can click on the link, whatever episode you want to listen to, and then it will redirect you to Spotify, where you can listen to, you know, what that particular episode that you want to listen to. There's a few that have actually updated recently as well. So we will be updating my website which has got authors like Sankofa Pap. He was on the radio show actually yesterday. I played his interview talking about unsung giants who fought to keep Africa free. Tasha Ellis, Chris Petard, and Dr. Janet Palmer, along with Crystal Ego. Those are the latest additions that I've uploaded. So go on there, feel free to listen to those interviews. And if you would like to be featured on the Black Book Show podcast, please get in touch with me. Again, info@blackbookshows.com. Right, we're coming to a conclusion soon, but I want to now invite Gyrons on. Now, we do have a partnership, the Black Book Show is in conjunction, we are partnership with Auntie Jean's African Culture Market. This event is in conjunction with Auntie Jean, with Pete YouTube channel. The video will be going on that YouTube channel. And we also have a partnership with Gyrons from Polyglot Translation Services. And recently, he's actually there are a few people actually that have been on the platform that he will now be translating books into different languages. So Gyrons, anyway, I'm going to let you do most of the speaking because this is your area of expertise. So Gyrons, if you'd like to come on and tell us, all about what you do in terms of, the book translation services you offer, you've got about 3 minutes. Gyrons.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. We can hear you.
You can hear me. All right. Thanks, Makonnen. Is everything all right? Okay. Thank you very much. I have learned a lot about the session, especially the book about prostate cancer. I never knew it was something to take seriously. So that was really refreshing, and thanks a lot once again. So on the partnership, we've established a partnership with the Black Book Show. Since we know we have a lot of authors that come on the show that have interesting ideas, very fun ideas. I was speaking about Makonnen, even about Barbara, a book about Anansi, where I made a comment that Anansi is a well-known character in Ghana with a lot of witty ideas. So trying to figure out how she got the character, if it was a true story or not. So knowing that most of the authors here have interesting ideas and would like the book to go globally, would like the book to sell in France, Spain, and all of those countries. And we understand on our side how difficult, expensive it is usually to translate books. We've partnered with the Black Book Show to help authors that come on the Black Book Show to have their books in international languages, French, Spanish, and German, and other languages, including African languages as well. So at the moment, I think last month we had a couple of authors that have signed in. I wanted to share my screen, but it looks as if I'm not able to. Mike, can you allow me to share just for 1 second?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
All right. And at the moment, the partnership comes with a discount for the authors that appeared on the show.
You can share now.
Okay. We do translation of children's book, memoir, and so on. Let me try this one. Can you all see my screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen, but Gyrons, keep it very brief though, because we've only got a couple minutes. We're coming to a close of the show.
No problem. So one of the books we've currently translated that are now in French and Spanish is Grander Than Me by an author in the UK. She has appeared on the Black Book Show, and we have the book now in French. The moment the book was translated in French, it's now selling in Germany and France as well. We are currently translating a book by an author in the US, Dr. Janet Palmer, who signed up last month. And also Chris Petard, we are translating his book into Spanish. So that's the opportunity we have for the authors in the show. For this particular, the remaining 3 months, we have a partnership as well with the Black Book Show. So all authors that are interested can just contact us or contact me or even Makonnen, and then we'll work with them. I think I'm done. That's all. If there's any question, I'll just leave my email address for more information for those who are interested.
Okay, thank you very much. That's
Thank you very
Jairon's
much,
from
and thanks a lot for everyone.
Polyglot Translation Services. So if you do want your book translated, you can contact myself, info@blackbookshows.com, or you can contact Jairon's and mention you found out about this through the Black Book Shows, and you will get a special discount will be applied. They translate books in various different languages, including African languages as well as European languages. I've actually connected with Jairon. We connected through the Black Book Shows, how we initially met. And we actually, I'm in Ghana, he's in Ghana. We actually are kind of based near each other. So we do meet from time to time. And as you mentioned as well, there's now a few people that are now taking out the book translation services with Polyglot Translation Services in conjunction with the Black Book Show to get their books translated. Right. We're coming to a conclusion of this edition of the Black Book Show. Jairon's, you can put your information in the Zoom chat if you wish to do that. What I would just want to do now is I want to go to Auntie Jean. Auntie Jean, just to get some final comments before we come back to me to close the Black Book Show. So if there's anything you wanted to, just say in conclusion.
Oh, absolutely brilliant show as always. I don't know where you find all these authors from, but it's absolutely beautiful, because before people were saying there's not enough Black authors, but there's plenty. And thank you so much for bringing them to the fore, so that, we are privy to the books that we wouldn't have been privy to before. And I also want to extend that to say, well, I'll give my details as well. So if you'd like to expand more on the information of your book, on what you do and other things that you do, you can have a spot on the African Culture Market or the Garvey Village to express more information on your books. And that is invitation to all. My contact details are +44 7961 886 032. I shall repeat, +44 7961 886 032. And for those who are based in England, or you're passing through here, England, in London, I do have a monthly African Culture Market where you, as you introduce yourself, you can come and have a spot there if you want to do a book launch, or if you'd like to even on a physical plane rather than a Zoom or virtual, come and promote and also sell your books. So that invitation is also out. So just get in contact with me with that. Sister Patricia, I think you have your hand raised quickly before we shut.
Yes, there was a question by, I think, Patricia Watson earlier in regards to Horatio's presentation. So you may want to actually, let people know that there's a repeat of this program on the radio if they wish to share this information with people who are not actually here today.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you. Sorry, the repeat of the the repeat. Oh, sorry, that's the Black Culture Radio repeat, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You can get the repeat of this session. Will be on Wednesday at GMT time, Greenwich Mean Time, at 1 p.m. on all the www.blackcultureradio.com, or you can catch us up on Facebook, because this goes out live on Facebook. If you go to Auntie Jean on Facebook, you'll be able to catch the actual visual on the Facebook channel.
Indeed. And also it will be coming, the replay, on P English Literature YouTube channel as well. So that's the way that you can listen and watch the replays of the Black Book Show. Right, that's it for this evening show, the Black Book Show. It's been another great show. Thank all the authors for coming on the platform. I look forward again to hosting the Black Book Show next month. which will be on Sunday, the 28th of May, where we have some more fantastic authors, you know, that are lined up. You know, on this particular show, we've had authors who's in, you know, in USA, in UK, Nigeria, Jamaica, and I'm in Ghana. So again, authors of African heritage from all over the world. And I hope you people feel free to, you know, to connect, because there's a lot of people that are doing great things who've got authors, podcasts, etc. But I would just like to say as well, you know, in terms of the collaboration with Auntie Jean, we've been collaborating since about October now. And yeah, I think the platform is going from strength to strength. And thank you as well for working in collaboration with the Black Book Show, along with the other partners that we have, P English Literature, Polyglot Translation Services. It's a pleasure. And yeah, if you want to stay in contact, you know, with what's going on in regards to the Black Book Show, again, the Facebook group is going to be the best place to do that. So the Black Book Shows, and then you'll know about all the latest information that is going to be going out regarding the Black Book Show. So I'm concluding with the Black Book Show now. However, Auntie Jean's African Culture Market is still staying on. So for those who are new, who are unsure, the Black Book Show and is at Auntie Jean's African Culture Market online. So it's in conjunction. So this is basically an event within an event there. So Auntie Jean's African Culture Market is going to stay on after this. However, this is the conclusion of the Black Book Show. So feel free to stay on and to watch and listen to Auntie Jean's African Culture Market, which is always great. But I'm going to be signing off now, and this is concluding of the Black Book Show. But you're more than welcome to stay on for the rest of the Auntie Jean's African Culture Market. So I'm just like to sign off. This is Makonnen and Sankofa, and goodbye. See you guys all again next month. Or you'll see me all again. I'll say that again. You'll see me.
Thank you so much, Makonnen. It has absolutely been brilliant, and thank you for bringing the authors to us. It's been amazing. Thank you so much.